You have probably noticed how some people manage to maintain absolute control even when everything around them crumbles. While most people panic, scream, react impulsively, and lose their reason at the first sign of adversity, there exists a rare type of individual who remains still, calculating, reading each movement as if they were 10 steps ahead of everyone else. This is the power of Stoic philosophy applied to real life, and there is no more perfect example of this mindset than Batman himself. The Dark Knight is not just a comic book hero, he represents a living philosophy of control, coolness, and discipline that can completely transform the way you face the chaos of your own existence. Today, I will show you exactly how this mentality works and how you can incorporate it to master any situation life throws your way. We are not talking about superpowers or billions of dollars. We are talking about a mental framework that anyone can develop if they understand the right principles. The difference between those who are destroyed by circumstances and those who turn them into fuel for growth lies in how they process the world. Batman lost his parents in a brutal, traumatic way in a dark alley in Gotham. Any ordinary person would be crushed by this tragedy, consumed by rage, by the thirst for blind revenge, by the desire to destroy everything around them. But Bruce Wayne did something different. He channeled all that pain into something greater, something structured, something methodical. He became a machine of discipline and emotional control because he understood one of the central principles of Stoicism. You do not control what happens to you, but you have absolute control over how you react to it. This is the essence of coolness. It does not mean the absence of emotion, it means total governance over your reactions. Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca taught exactly this more than 2,000 years ago. They lived in times of war, slavery, death, and political chaos, yet they developed a philosophy that made them unbreakable. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire during times of plague and war, and yet he found inner peace by writing his meditations on control, virtue, and serenity. Epictetus was born a slave, suffered physical abuse, lost his freedom, but taught that no one could enslave his mind if he chose to remain free internally. Seneca lived under tyrants, faced exiles, and was forced to commit suicide, but until his last breath, he maintained his dignity and his philosophy intact. These men understood that true power does not lie in controlling the external world. It lies in mastering the internal world. And that is exactly what Batman does every day in Gotham. He cannot prevent criminals from existing. He cannot change the past. He cannot resurrect his parents, but he can choose how to respond to all of this. He chose discipline, training, strategy, meticulous preparation. He chose to transform his pain into purpose. This is control. This is coolness. This is pure stoicism applied to action. When you watch the movies or read the comics, you notice that Batman rarely acts out of emotion. He observes, analyzes, plans, and executes. While other heroes explode in anger or act impulsively, he remains calm, calculating, always 3 moves ahead. This is not coolness in the sense of insensitivity. It is coolness in the sense of absolute mental clarity. He feels but does not allow feelings to take the reins of his decisions. This is the key. Stoic philosophy teaches that emotions are natural, but they should not govern our actions. We must acknowledge them, process them, and then act rationally. Batman masters chaos because he is chaos transformed into order. Gotham is a corrupted, violent city, steeped in crime and despair. It is the perfect reflection of what happens when chaos wins. But Batman enters this scenario not with more chaos, not with blind revenge, but with method, with strategy, with unyielding discipline. He becomes the symbol of what is possible when you apply absolute control over yourself. And this is the point I want you to understand deeply. External chaos only destroys you if you allow it to enter your mind. If you keep your internal fortress intact, nothing can break you. The Stoics called this the inner citadel, a place within you that remains unshakable regardless of what happens outside. Batman built this citadel through years of training, sacrifice, and self-discipline. He traveled the world, learned from masters, mastered martial arts, trained his mind as a brilliant detective, studied criminal psychology, technology, military strategy. All of this because he understood that to master chaos, you must first master yourself. Control, coolness, and discipline are not just characteristics of Batman. They are tools that anyone can develop. The question is, are you willing to pay the price? Because it is not easy. It requires sacrifice. It requires you to give up instant gratifications. It requires you to face your fears, your weaknesses, your shadows. But when you do this, when you truly internalize these Stoic principles, you become unstoppable. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the architect of your own destiny. From now on, we will dive deeply into the three pillars that support this mentality: control, coolness, and discipline, and how each of them works in practice, both in Batman's life and in yours. Let's start with control, the first pillar of this Stoic philosophy that transforms Bruce Wayne into Batman. Control does not mean dominating everything around you. That is impossible, and seeking it only generates frustration and failure. True control is discernment. It is knowing exactly what is within your power and what is beyond it. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, divided everything into two simple categories: things that depend on you and things that do not depend on you. Your actions, your choices, your judgments, your efforts, your discipline depend on you. The actions of others, the past, external events, other people's opinions, final outcomes involving variables beyond your reach do not depend on you. The genius of this division lies in the clarity it brings. When you understand this, you stop wasting energy trying to change what cannot be changed and focus all your strength on what truly matters, yourself. Batman applies this every day. He cannot prevent crime from existing. He cannot change Gotham's corrupt nature. He cannot control the actions of the Joker or any other villain. But he can control how he prepares, how he reacts, how he strategizes, how he positions himself in the face of each threat. While others get lost lamenting the injustice of the world, Batman acts on what is under his control: his preparation, his training, his technology, his tactical choices. He does not complain that criminals are cruel. He prepares to face them. He does not victimize himself for having lost his parents. He transforms that pain into motivation to ensure that other families do not suffer the same fate. This is Stoic control. It is taking total responsibility for your response to life, even when life has been brutally unfair to you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that it is not events that disturb man, but the opinion he has about the events. Batman internalized this perfectly. The death of his parents is an immutable fact, but the interpretation Bruce gives to that fact defines his entire trajectory. He could have chosen to become an alcoholic, a nihilist, a vengeful criminal, but he chose to become a guardian. This choice, this interpretation, is where his true power lies, and you have that same power now. Whatever situation you are facing, you may not control the facts, but you completely control the meaning you attribute to them and the actions you take in response. Did someone betray you? You do not control the betrayal, but you control whether you will destroy yourself in bitterness or use it as fuel to grow. Did you lose your job? You do not control the company's decision, but you control whether you will succumb to despair or seek a better opportunity. Did you suffer an injustice? You do not control the injustice, but you control whether you will react with wisdom or impulsiveness. This is the control that transforms lives. It is stopping being a leaf in the wind and becoming the anchor of your own existence. Now let's move on to the second pillar: coolness. Many people confuse coolness with cruelty, with lack of compassion, with indifference. But in Stoic philosophy and in Batman's mindset, coolness is emotional clarity. It is the ability to feel without being enslaved by feeling. It is having emotions without allowing them to hijack your rationality. Batman feels anger, feels pain, feels fear. But he does not act from those emotions. He acknowledges them, processes them, and then acts from reason. This is the secret. The Stoics did not preach the suppression of emotions. They preached against hasty judgment based on them. Seneca said that anger is a temporary form of insanity because in it you lose control of reason and acts destructively. Batman could easily kill the Joker. He has power, opportunity, and emotional justification, but he doesn't. Not because he is weak, but because he understands that killing would be yielding to emotional impulse, or it would be losing control. It would be becoming what he fights against. This is stoic coldness. It is maintaining the moral line even when all emotions scream for you to cross it. It is deciding based on principles, not on momentary feelings. In your life, this means not exploding in arguments just because someone provoked you. It means not making impulsive financial decisions because you are anxious or euphoric. It means not abandoning your goals because you had a bad day. Coldness is emotional stability. It is being the rock when everyone around you is waves. When you develop this ability, people start to respect you differently. They realize that you are not manipulable, that you do not react like an animal to external stimuli, that you possess an inner solidity that inspires confidence. Batman is feared and respected, not for violence, but for presence. He enters a room and everyone stops. Not because he shouts, but because he emanates absolute control. This comes from coldness. It comes from years of mastering his own internal storms until nothing external can unbalance him. And you can develop this. It starts with small practices. Breathe deeply before reacting. Pause before responding. Observe your emotions as if they were clouds passing by. Acknowledge that they are there, but do not identify with them. You are not your anger, you are feeling anger. You are not your fear, you are experiencing fear. This distinction changes everything. When you become the observer of your emotions instead of being dominated by them, you gain coldness. Now we come to the third and most powerful pillar, discipline. Without discipline, control and coldness are just empty concepts. Discipline is the bridge between intention and reality. It is what transforms philosophy into action. It is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Batman is not the greatest detective in the world due to natural talent. It is due to discipline. He is not one of the greatest fighters because of genetic gifts. It is due to obsessive training. He does not have the most advanced technology by luck. It is because he dedicates time, resources, and energy to develop it. Everything in his life is the result of unwavering discipline. And here's the hard truth that no one wants to hear. Nothing meaningful happens without discipline. You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can perfectly understand the principles of Stoicism. You can know exactly what you need to do. But if you do not have the discipline to execute consistently, nothing changes. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't want to. It is training when you are tired. It is studying when you are discouraged. It is keeping your commitments when it would be easier to give up. It is getting up after falling not once but as many times as necessary. The Stoics were obsessed with discipline. Marcus Aurelius would wake up before dawn to fulfill his duties as emperor, even when he could stay in bed. Epictetus taught his students to practice daily exercises of self-control, from fasting to voluntary exposure to discomfort. Seneca dedicated hours to philosophical reflection and self-questioning. They all understood that virtue is not an accident. It is a daily construction through disciplined habits. Batman embodies this at an extreme level. He has rigorous physical training routines that would keep most people away after a week. He constantly studies, learns new techniques, updates his knowledge of criminology, psychology, technology. He does not relax simply because he had a victory. For him, discipline is not a means to an end. It is a permanent lifestyle. And this needs to be your mindset as well. Discipline is not something you turn on and off at your convenience. It is an identity. You do not practice discipline only when you are motivated. You are disciplined as part of who you are. This shift in perspective is crucial. As long as you depend on external motivation, on temporary inspiration, on fluctuating emotions, you will be inconsistent. But when discipline becomes your identity, when you simply are someone who does what needs to be done regardless of the circumstances, you become unstoppable. Batman never says, Today I am not inspired to patrol Gotham. He simply goes, because that is what he does. It is who he is. Stoic philosophy teaches that discipline should be applied in all areas of life. Physical discipline, taking care of the body as a temple. Mental discipline, training the mind through study and reflection. Emotional discipline, governing passions and impulses. Social discipline, acting with virtue in relationships. Spiritual discipline, connecting with something greater than yourself. Batman masters all these dimensions. He is physically impeccable, mentally sharp, emotionally controlled, socially strategic when necessary, and spiritually connected to his greater purpose of protecting Gotham. This total integration is what makes him so powerful, and you can start applying this today. Choose one area of your life that needs more discipline. Perhaps it is your health, your work, your relationships, your finances. Set a non-negotiable commitment in that area and stick to it every day for 30 days. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter if it is hard. You simply do it. This is the training of discipline. Gradually, you will notice that you become stronger, more confident, more capable. Because discipline generates results, and results generate confidence, and confidence fuels more discipline. It is a virtuous cycle. Batman understands something that most ignore. The chaos of the external world is a reflection of unresolved internal chaos. Gotham is chaotic because its citizens are internally chaotic, governed by fear, greed, impulsivity. Batman becomes the exception because he has conquered internal order. And when you have internal order, you can navigate any external chaos. Control, coldness, and discipline are not just abstract virtues. They are practical tools for survival and mastery. In a world that is becoming increasingly unstable, unpredictable, and chaotic, those who possess these three qualities stand out as beacons in the darkness. You do not need to be a billionaire. You do not need to have suffered an epic tragedy. You do not need to wear a mask. You just need to make the conscious decision to apply Stoic principles in your daily life. Start today. Identify a situation that is throwing you off balance. Ask yourself, what in this situation is under my control? Focus only on that. Practice coldness by observing your emotions without reacting impulsively. Choose one act of discipline and execute it regardless of how you feel. Do this repeatedly, and in weeks you will see real transformations. Batman masters chaos because he is the living embodiment of Stoic philosophy. And if a fictional character can inspire millions with these principles, imagine what you, a real person, can achieve by genuinely applying them in your existence. Chaos will always exist. The question is not whether you will face storms, it is whether you will have the inner strength to weather them standing tall. Control, coldness, and discipline are the armor you need. Wear them every day and become the most powerful version of yourself.